What if the biggest tragedy in How to Train Your Dragon never had to happen? Not Stoick's death, not Berk's destruction, not even the war with Drago. What if all of it could have been prevented by a single conversation? Because here's something most fans never think about. Drago Bludvist and Hiccup Haddock aren't opposites. They're reflections of each other. Both grew up in a world shaped by dragon attacks. Both lost people because of dragons. Both wanted to protect humanity. The difference is that one of them met Toothless, and the other never did. And once you realize that, an incredible question appears. What if Drago arrived on Berk years before the events of How to Train Your Dragon 2? Not with an army, not with a Bewilderbeast, not as a conqueror, just as a man searching for answers. Would Hiccup have changed his mind? Would Stoick still be alive? Would Toothless ever become the Alpha? Or would Berk accidentally create an even darker future? To answer that, we need to understand who Drago really is. Most fans remember Drago as a tyrant, a dragon hunter, a warlord who wanted to dominate the world. But that's not where his story begins. Long before he commanded armies, long before he captured dragons, Drago was just a child living in a village that was destroyed during a dragon attack. In a single night, he lost everything, his home, his family, his future. And that's what makes him so fascinating, because that same tragedy created Hiccup's world as well. For 300 years, the people of Berk feared dragons for exactly the same reason Drago did. They believed dragons were monsters because dragons had taken everything from them. The difference is that Hiccup eventually discovered the truth. Drago never got that chance. Instead, he spent years building an army. He became obsessed with controlling dragons before they could hurt anyone again. What started as fear slowly turned into power, and what started as protection slowly turned into domination. By the time of Race to the Edge, Drago is already out there somewhere gathering forces and preparing for war, which creates our alternate timeline. Imagine that one day Drago hears rumors about an impossible island, an island where dragons and humans live together peacefully. An island ruled by a boy who rides a night fury. To Drago, that sounds absurd, impossible, dangerous. So he decides to see it himself. When he arrives on Berk, nothing makes sense. Dragons aren't chained, they're not controlled. They're helping villagers, playing with children, sleeping beside homes. Everything he spent his life believing is shattered in a matter of minutes. And then he sees Toothless, not as a weapon, not as a monster, but as a friend. For the first time in decades, Drago is forced to confront a possibility he never considered. What if he was wrong? That's when Hiccup finds him. And unlike Stoick, unlike most warriors, Hiccup doesn't attack, he talks. Because that's what Hiccup always does. He talked to Toothless when everyone wanted dragons dead. He talked to Dagger when everyone saw a madman. He talked to dragon hunters when everyone else reached for weapons. So why wouldn't he try with Drago? The real question is whether Drago would listen. And surprisingly, the movies suggest he might. Even in How to Train Your Dragon 2, Drago doesn't immediately attack Hiccup. He explains himself. He tells his story. He wants Hiccup to understand why he believes dragons must be controlled. That means something. It means Drago isn't mindless. He's ideological. And ideological people can sometimes be reached before they become fully committed to their cause. That's where this timeline changes. Maybe Hiccup removes Toothless's saddle. Maybe he shows Drago the trust between them. Maybe Toothless does something simple, something completely ordinary, Like sitting beside Drago without aggression. For most people that wouldn't matter. For Drago it would change everything, because he has spent his entire life seeing dragons as enemies, and now he's looking at living proof that they're not. Does he instantly become a hero? No, but maybe he leaves Berk with doubt, and doubt is powerful. Because doubt delays wars, doubt changes decisions, doubt saves lives. Maybe the Bewilderbeast army is never completed, maybe Stoick never dies. Maybe Berk becomes an example that slowly changes the world before Drago can reshape it through fear. Or maybe the opposite happens. Maybe Stoick discovers Drago's presence. Maybe old fears resurface. Maybe Drago leaves convinced that Berk is a threat that must be destroyed. In that timeline, the war arrives earlier, and Berk may never survive it. Think about that for a second. What if Hiccup's greatest strength, his willingness to trust people, became the very thing that destroyed everything he loved? What if showing compassion to Drago didn't save the future, but accidentally doomed it? That's what makes this theory so fascinating. Because the answer isn't really about Drago, it's about Hiccup. The entire How to Train Your Dragon franchise is built on one simple but powerful idea: compassion can change the world. Hiccup proved it when he spared Toothless instead of killing him. He proved it when he united Vikings and dragons after centuries of hatred. He proved it when he turned enemies into allies and gave people second chances that nobody else would have given. Again and again, Hiccup succeeds because he believes there is always another way. But here's the question that keeps bothering me. Was Drago the one person who was beyond saving? Or was he simply the one person nobody reached in time? Because when you really look at Drago's story, it's hard not to see the tragedy behind the monster. A child loses everything in a dragon attack. That child grows up terrified. That fear turns into anger. That anger turns into obsession. And eventually that obsession becomes an empire built on control. But where exactly was the point of no return? Was it when his village was destroyed? Was it when he began capturing dragons? Was it when he discovered the Bewilderbeast? Or was there still a small part of him that could have changed if someone had reached him sooner? And if Hiccup had been that person, how different would the world have been? Would Stoick still be alive? Would Toothless ever have become the Alpha? Would the hidden world have remained hidden? Would the Night Furies still exist? Or would history have found another way to repeat itself? The more I think about it, the more I realize this isn't just a theory about Drago. It's a theory about fate. Was everything in How to Train Your Dragon destined to happen exactly the way it did? Or was the entire future balanced on a single conversation that never happened? Because that's the heartbreaking part. Hiccup and Drago are mirrors of each other. Both lost people because of dragons. Both wanted to protect others. Both were willing to change the world. The difference is that one of them met Toothless, and one of them never did. Maybe that's why Drago feels so different from other villains. He's not just someone Hiccup has to defeat. He's the person Hiccup could have become under different circumstances. A darker version, a broken version, a version shaped by fear instead of friendship. And maybe that's why their confrontation feels so tragic. Not because they're enemies, but because they're so similar. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. If Hiccup had met Drago years before the war, before the armies, before the Bewilderbeast, before all the bloodshed, could he have changed everything? Honestly, I don't know. And that's why I love this theory, because there's evidence for both sides. Maybe Hiccup saves him. Maybe Drago was already too far gone. Maybe the war never happens, or maybe it becomes even worse. We'll never know for sure. But I'd love to hear what you think. Do you believe Drago could have been redeemed? Or do you think he was always destined to become the villain we see in How to Train Your Dragon 2? Let me know down in the comments. I read as many of them as I can, and some of the best future theories on this channel come directly from your ideas. And if you enjoyed diving deep into hidden lore, alternate timelines, and character mysteries like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Because next time we're tackling an even bigger question. What if Toothless was never the last Night Fury? Trust me, the evidence for that theory is much stranger than most fans realize. Until then, thanks for watching.